Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to welcome you, and before we come to the main topic today, I would like to thank Lisa Cash for a great performance of the event. So, welcome to the Holy Hall of the Atlantic Academy. My name is David Serakov. I'm the director of the Atlantic Academy, and I will lead the debate or the discussion tonight, and I'm really looking forward to all your insights and all your remarks, and of course your questions about the Democrats abroad, about maybe the Democratic presidential primary and the impeachment inquiry we all witness at the moment. But before we get to today's topic, let me say a few words about the Atlantic Academy. We, that also means our education manager, Sarah Wagner, our program manager, our program coordinator, John Constance, for our program. Welcome to Rheinland-Pfalz. Oliver Leis, who's responsible for the registrations, and he, unfortunately, is unable to be here tonight, as well as our intern, Elisa Meisel. We are an institution funded, you're allowed to applaud. We're funded by the state of Rheinland-Pfalz, and our work is first and foremost dedicated to the transatlantic relations, which means the European as well as German-American relations, but also to American politics, obviously, economy and culture. And we do this in various forms and on quite different topics to keep this advertisement segment brief. I would say you find more information, of course, in our brochures at the door, and of course on our website, Facebook page, as well as on our channels on YouTube, Instagram and Twitter. The Kaiserslautern chapter of the Democrats Abroad celebrates its 35th anniversary today. And I think it's time to talk about three parts, or about three topics. It's first history, the present, and the future. With regard, of course, to the Kaiserslautern chapter, the country committee in Germany, and of course the Democratic Party. I think it's a very crucial time for the Democrats as well as the Republicans. Maybe we can talk about that as well. And I'm delighted to welcome to our panel, first of all, Candice Kirsten, the Democrats Abroad Germany chair. Ron Schland, treasurer of the Democrats Abroad Germany and also the founder of the Kaiserslautern chapter. As well as Teresano, current Democrats Abroad Kaiserslautern chapter. So let's begin with some historical insights and the state of the. So we go back to the 80s when we talk about the 35th anniversary, and maybe we can talk about a little bit about the state of the Democrats Abroad in the 80s. How far were the Democrats Abroad organized then in the 80s? Were there already country committees, especially in Germany? And chapters?
We didn't think quite in those terms, but I wanted to mention that the first time Democrats were organized was 1964 when they called it Americans Abroad for Johnson. And that was two groups in London and Paris. And from that came Democrats Abroad with delegates to the National Convention by 1976. And then by 1980s there were 8 country committees, Germany being one of the original 8. But the group was very, very small. Germany, I think we had about 75 members. And I don't remember the numbers of the UK and France. They were bigger, but it was still in a couple of hundreds each. And there was nothing outside of Europe in those days, all just European. So. And then in 84, in 84, it was realized in Germany that since the meetings were always in Frankfurt, it was very difficult for people to get to the meetings if you didn't live in Frankfurt. So then I went up to a Frankfurt meeting, and the chair then, whose name was Steve Larson, said, "Why don't you form a group in Kaiserslautern?" And we didn't think in terms of chapters or precincts or anything. We just said, okay, we'll have meetings in Kaiserslautern. That was all we thought about. And gradually there were groups in Berlin and Heidelberg and others. And we began to call them precincts, then we began to call them chapters, and then out of this came this very large number of chapters. How many are there today? 12. And divided into precincts, there's
about
dozens, 30, about 30. And the membership, are we allowed to say the membership today? 10,000.
So growing from Ron's 75 people, we just hit 10,000 members in early fall.
Yeah, which we could never imagine. Of course, how would you manage that many people without email, without, how would you, what would we have done with a 10,000 member organization if we could have ever formed it in 1984? So that was the origins of the group in Kaiserslautern. And then when Steve Larson was chair of Frankfurt left, he asked me if I'd be willing to be the chair of Germany. And I said, okay. And I say that because we didn't really have elections in the same way, because it's whoever's willing to do it, And so then gradually the group grew and grew. We are strongest when we have a Republican president. That's when we have our greatest growth, in my experience. We have a Democratic president, the membership sort of evens up, sort of levels off, it increases very slightly, because people grow during the Obama time, I think it's fair to say, and also during the Clinton time. People are somewhat more apathetic, oh, things are fine, and we don't have the big increases in membership. So actually, Republican presidents help our membership, especially outlandish ones, not to mention any specific names.
I just want to go back to this very beginning in the 80s, and because it was a politically very exciting time. We had this presidential campaign, or the race between Walter Mondale and
That was our
Ronald-
first campaign.
Yeah, Ronald Reagan,
Yes.
which was not that successful. But,
I can tell you, the Kaiser and I, we had great difficulty getting my support for Walter Mondale. Though I met people after the election saying, you know, I was for Mondale, but I didn't dare say so in the military.
Some similarities to our times now. In terms of international politics, it was I would say the most dangerous time. In '83, so 1 year before the chapter was founded, the Pershing II missiles were stationed in Germany, and the possibility that the Cold War would become a hot war was, I think, in retrospect, particularly great.
In Reagan's first term especially.
Yeah. And in this mixed situation, the Kaiserslautern chapter was founded.
Yes.
So my question, what were the reasons? So what was your maybe role model, or what was your idea behind?
We never involve ourselves in German politics, and we try to stay out of international politics. So it would have little to do with any of the issues you talked about. It would have to do with the fact that we needed to try to have people vote for Mondale and maybe be interested in the Mondale campaign. And how can they do that if the only meetings are in Frankfurt? So the first meeting in Kaiser, I think we had maybe 10 or 12 people showing, something like that. We thought that was a lot, since Frankfurt only attracted 30 or 40, you know, so. But it really had little to do with, except opposition to Reagan generally, of course, but it had nothing directly to do with German politics, because we're not supposed to be involved in German politics.
Years are an impressive time. So the Atlantic Academy has been in existence for 23 years now, so we have a lot to go to get there. How would you describe the last 35 years? What are the successes, the challenges, and maybe setbacks that you have that have stayed in your mind?
What's helped us, of course, is more than anything is, well, first, when fax machines came in, we couldn't believe how we could communicate. And we were getting faxes from Washington, and of course I did fax watch in the middle of the night because I could never persuade them that we had a time difference, and I could just worry at 3 in the morning, you know, they're faxing us from Washington. And that was, we couldn't believe this, you know. Every country now had a fax machine now. And then of course with email and all, that's hugely increased our ability to communicate from what was true before. Otherwise it was phone calls, and it was those thin paper envelopes, you know, back and forth. Remember those things? Aerograms. So I think the technology has hugely helped. But I also think that some of the presidents, such as especially Bush Jr. and Trump, have helped us a lot to get people more interested in the organization. And also it's much easier now to vote by mail, as we say, than it used to be. Some states accept email ballots, email requests. Some states you can you vote online in any state? I don't think so, yeah. But you can get your ballot, you can email your ballot to them by scanning it. In some states, so that's increased. It's much easier to vote than it was.
Any setbacks over
No,
the last 35 years?
Not really, I can't think of any. I mean, there are times when we grew more slowly. It's been steady growth, but sometimes kind of, then, you know, the Iraq War especially, you know, we had tremendous increases. The first Iraq War. People were very opposed to that. Democrats abroad, I should say, is quite far left, generally. It's fair to say, isn't it? Yeah, we shouldn't say anything.
I think we have a fair mixture of people at our events. I think it depends on the event itself and who shows up. I mean, I would agree with Ron that there are certainly pockets that would, you know, even in German standards would be considered to the left. However, I remember I was at a Thanksgiving event a few years ago, and I think if you get a table of Democrats together, that you do start to see some differences in opinion. I mean, as we're seeing in the primary, stage right now, there are still a few, fine-tuned points that I think there's need for debate.
Sanders got what percent did he get in the primary?
69.
70%. Clinton got 30. So that suggests perhaps.
Certainly.
A little something about it. I think it's one of the highest trends of any state, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Except maybe Vermont.
Slight tendency. The reason why I'm asking, so my question, and this leads to the current situation, to the present, and of course to the future for chapters and for political institutions abroad. Is this also a big challenge for you, especially maybe a question for you, Therese and Candice, especially because some might think that in this area it's much easier due to the sheer number of Americans you can reach here, or what challenges and what challenges would you see beyond that, beyond this question of critical number of members, active members?
Well, the major challenge that we have being in the military community is that from what we can see, the majority of people are Republicans, and for the other people, they really can't express their viewpoints because they have to be careful of what, how they act in the military community. Now, we have about 50,000 Americans in the Kaiserslautern area, so there's a tremendous, space there for growth. And so we try to infiltrate and get people, in the military to join and to speak with their friends. And, we've been making some progress, but not any major progress. So.
On a national level?
Yeah, so I think there's a few factors that come together. I myself don't come from a military background, so I can't speak as well to the subject as Therese and Ron. But if we look at Germany nationally, what we see is the statistics when we all move to Germany and you have to do your Anmeldung, that is available to us, which has been very helpful as we move towards 2020 to see where pockets of Americans are living, and also demographics are available as well. And the two biggest groups are people who have lived here for about 1 to 3 years, and then 30 plus years. And for us, I think, looking to our plans nationally, finding that group who's already been here for 30 plus years, is really an area where we have to do some work. A lot of these people, as we know ourselves, when you move, the Americans in the room, when you move here, as well, you might not want to be speaking English. You're reading the German newspapers, you're trying to integrate. These people who have been here 30 plus years, the same thing might apply to them. They might be just reading the German news and, not really thinking about their American identity for one reason or another. So reaching that pocket, I think, is a little bit more difficult.
Yes.
And it does come up a lot. When we do voter outreach events, people will say, oh, I've lived here my whole life, pretty much, my whole adult life, and I didn't know I could vote. So.
Yeah, let's talk about a little bit the future, maybe. In the eyes of many observers, myself included, the coming year marks one of the most important elections, at least in this recent history of the United States, maybe in the history of the United States. We can discuss that as well. After Mitt Romney's defeat in 2012, the Republicans got together and tried to analyze what went wrong. They called it autopsy back then. Was there such an autopsy in the Democratic Party after the 2016 defeat, and what consequences did the Democrats draw?
Well, we could talk about the superdelegate controversy, if you want. That was a long fight, because a lot of the Sanders people thought, fairly or not, I would say, that the nomination was stolen by Clinton through superdelegates. And so the decision has been made now, after months and months of discussion by Democratic National Committee, which I used to sit on, but I don't anymore, that superdelegates will only vote on the second ballot. They will not be allowed to vote on the first ballot, which means they probably won't be allowed to vote at all. Maybe they will be allowed to vote. Now, if they are allowed to vote on the second ballot, the whole controversy will come up again, won't it? If there's a second ballot. There hasn't been one since 1952 in a Democratic convention. So that's been talked about for many, many, many months. How to reach the Hispanic voters, that's never been settled, because some will resent ads in Spanish, and some want ads in Spanish, and you know about this controversy.
It was one of the results of the Republican Party.
Right, I don't know how we'll ever solve that one.
I think the superdelegates was the main point that I would have mentioned. I think after the 2016 election, we did see a division in the party, and I think we have to talk openly about that. And there have been efforts to, kind of reconciliate this tension about superdelegates. I had another point. Now it's escaping me. Oh yes, focusing on state level action. I think that has been a long plan of the Republican Party that we've seen to take over state legislatures, to take over governorships. And I would say that Democrats have tuned in a lot more to that strategy now. I can tell you from Democrats abroad in the past year, we were working very hard at state level races. Therese here in Kaiserslautern.
On the Virginia races.
Wrote a lot of postcards to Virginia voters for the state legislature. We're looking to do similar campaigns in swing states next year, because we realize that you can't neglect the state and local elections.
Especially with the electoral college.
Exactly.
And we've had 2 successes, and just recently with Kentucky and Louisiana. So we managed to squeeze through. So we have 2 more governorships.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when Howard Dean was chair of DNC, he had a 50-state strategy, and then that was kind of forgotten.
Came to my mind after the 2016 elections was that maybe it was one core disadvantage of the Democratic Party at that time was that there were only maybe 2 relevant candidates, and now we have at night 10 candidates. Maybe this is an advantage, or it's a much better position now in the Democratic Party. Would you agree?
Well, it seems to give people a better choice. They can listen to all the platforms and make decisions, and it gives them a lot of information. However, on the other hand, it dilutes the support that people are getting when the other party can consolidate all of their fundraising just for their primary candidate.
Good point.
I don't have a sense. There's a lot of people who are saying, if so-and-so is the nominee, then I'll vote for Trump. I don't sense that among Democrats. But you did hear some of that among some Democrats who were supporting Sanders, who either voted for Trump or voted third party because they were mad that they believed Clinton stole the nomination. I don't sense much of that anymore. Do you think that's fair to say?
Yes, this year there seems to be more unity, that there's a feeling out there that we all are going to support whoever turns out to be the nominee in the primary.
And that's interesting, because that would be my next question, whether or not we can see a new sense of unity in the Democratic Party, especially after this experience in 2016 and this very fragile situation in the Democratic Party between a Bernie Sanders or Bernie or bust movement and the Clinton campaign. The 2020 Democratic presidential primary is underway. We were able to watch, as I already mentioned, the 5th debate last night with the 10 most promising candidates, I would say, maybe.
Those who qualify for the debate anyway.
Yeah. So maybe that's promising. At the same time, we watch day-to-day hearings as part of the presidential impeachment inquiry started by Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi and led by Representative Adam Schiff, the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. Would you consider this mixed situation an advantage or rather a disadvantage for the Democrats at the moment? So that there's maybe a sort of distraction from the primary, from the presidential primary when this inquiry is going forward, and what's your take on the timing for an impeachment?
I think it's very advantageous. I know that this is, I'm sure within this room we would have different opinions about that. Yes. Excellent. I think it's advantageous. I think that overall for the party and what we stand for, that this is something that needed to be done. I think when we look back at this in the history books, if we just would have been passive the entire time and not taken a stand, I think that really would have been the sad way to go about this, and really the unfair way to go about this for the American people. And I think, right now I come from a family who is watching Fox News very often, and thinks this impeachment thing is a whole scam, and it's just the Democrats doing it because they wouldn't win the election. But I would stand by the fact that I think that this is something that needs to be explored. I would stand by that if a Democratic president had done this as well. I think that these are kind of the wheels of justice in Washington that are really working right now. And I think that's encouraging to me that, these are why these balances of powers were put in place. And I think it's advantageous that we're using them to bring justice to the United States and its people.
And it's also advantageous because we're letting more people see exactly what's going on in Washington at the present time and how the government is being corrupted.
Especially the interest in the political system itself, and of course in this very interesting way Donald Trump is leading the White House. Yeah.
But I wouldn't assume that there's any strategy behind this that they're planning, It had to happen. Once Ukraine information was released, how could it be avoided? And I think sometimes people think there's some mastermind of the Democratic Party who's behind the scenes pulling strings, and of course, as you know, there's nothing like, for better or worse, there's nothing like that. We don't have any Wizard of Oz behind the curtains, And even Pelosi's ability to influence events is, I think, hugely exaggerated. She responds to the caucus needs,
I would add, though, that I think the one area where Democrats have to be a little bit cautious about this is not kind of falling into his tricks. I think there's one thing that we've learned from, Trump and the tweets and everything that's gone on is that he's really a master of distraction. And I would say that that's kind of the one caveat. While we are doing the stuff that needs to be done, kind of not playing along with his schemes to distract. Because I think that's one area where I would see potential for damage.
Yeah. Some even think his trip to the hospital was contrived to take attention off the impeachment hearings. I mean, I don't know that, but it's certainly possible.
Before I look forward to a question from the audience, that's also part of tonight's event. One last assessment, of course I have to ask that. Given the debates and the survey or poll results so far, who will be or who will challenge President Trump next year?
I wouldn't say.
We have to reserve that opinion until after the primary.
Wow.
No, that's really right.
Wait, you mean which Republicans?
Yeah, maybe, Mike Pence, but I think, he has a problem since Sondland and today's hearing, I would say.
We have a policy of strict neutrality in Democrats abroad. And even after the primary results, we're still not to support anybody until the convention is held. And we know who the nominee will be. Because the fact that, for example, we supported Sanders 70% doesn't mean that we're supposed to then be supporting Sanders. We're supposed to be supporting Sanders for 2016. So we're very, very careful. I won't describe all the absurd contortions we go through to be neutral. But I'll tell one anecdote. So we had buttons. I don't know if you were there, Jason. We had people were trying to sell Sanders, Clinton, and who was the governor of Maryland? Who was O'Malley buttons at one of our meetings, and we said, absolutely not. You cannot be selling individual buttons. If people want to buy buttons, they have to buy all three in one little package. And what they do with the other two is up to them.
I think I would add too, so in March, all Americans living in Germany around the world will have the opportunity to participate in our global presidential primary. All Americans who become members of Democrats abroad.
And you can become a member the day of the primary.
Exactly.
So that's a close primary?
Yes. Yes, but we are working to get more and more candidates on the ballot. Today, Pete Buttigieg and Elizabeth Warren were the first two who made it onto our ballot, and I'm sure more will come along. If you are a member of Democrats Abroad, I'd invite you to sign a petition for candidates who you'd like to see on our ballot. And ultimately in March, we're expecting about 25 voting centers across the country, one of them here in Landstuhl, and I think that's really going to energize our base.
It's a Super Tuesday event, but they give us a week window for Super Tuesday.
Right, we'll be having ours on Sunday, March 8th, so put that on your calendar already so you can come up and vote in person.
You had Goldinger's Cafe and lunch
Right.
in the afternoon. But you can also vote other ways.
Yes, by email, postal mail,
We're doing email voting.
yes.
Yeah. Postal mail, fax, I guess, if anybody has a fax machine anymore.
What facts from mine?
But I guess I would add just one last thing as we talk about what Trump has meant for Democrats abroad in this, present and future looking thing. And I would add, the one silver lining to his presidency is that we've seen mobilization like we haven't seen, at least since I joined Democrats abroad in 2014. And then it was kind of what Ron said. It was this, period with slight growth, but
Yeah.
really I think a lot of Americans right now feel the need to unite and really come to us then for the platform that will give them concrete, ways to be active and have a say despite living in Germany.
And we should make clear, I guess, that from the primary results, we determine our delegates to the National Convention in Milwaukee, and we'll have 17 delegate votes. We'll be in the roll call right after Delaware, if you watch C-SPAN or whatever. When they say Delaware, and then whoever, then next is Democrats abroad. So, and we also have representatives of the platform committee. So we'll be involved in writing some parts anyway of the Democratic Party platform. So it's quite a big, I want to show here so people don't think it's a small group. Here's the 92 delegation, with some people who were not members, of course, but still. So it's not a small group of people who appear at the convention. And there'll be, I'm sure, more in Milwaukee than there were. This was in Los Angeles in 92? No, we weren't in Los Angeles. That's wrong in here. Well, anyway, it wasn't in Los Angeles in 92. I didn't realize that error. It was in New York. But anyway, that's the 92 delegation.
And we have a big challenge because in the last election in 2016, only 7% of the overseas voters voted. So there's a huge, a minefield out there. If we could get them to vote, we could, swing a lot of elections.
Are we giving credit for swing some elections? I'm asking you, because you know that we were.
I think we had an effect in Virginia.
Yeah,
Yes. So the Equal Rights Amendment will have the possibility of being passed maybe even in 2019, not in 2020.
Mm-hmm. It's possible.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You take a look at the election results in 2018, and especially when you look at this democratic strategy there, on the district level,
Mm-hmm.
that in each and every district, a Democrat ran. So you had a competition in each and every district.
And that didn't used to be the case.
Yeah. Of course, it's a special election, sort of, because it is the first election after the presidential election. That's some special elections to some extent. But do you expect that this will be the case in 2020, that the Democrats will also run in each and every district?
I do. I'd be surprised if it weren't so. So I remember Howard
Would be
Dean.
smart.
I remember Howard Dean when he was chair saying that people say Utah is lost. He said, but remember the mayor of Salt Lake City is a Democrat. So there's no state that's lost,